After getting married, I discovered the CEO had a white moonlight, first love, while my best friend suspected his rapper brother might be gay. So I pulled out 2 pre-prepared divorce agreements. Me, divorce or not? Best friend, divorce, divorce, divorce. So we signed the papers and ran away. Upon learning we wanted divorces, the rapper went crazy and immediately carried off my best friend. I tried to chase after them but was shoved into a car by the CEO, who threatened. "Woman, you've successfully provoked my anger. If you can get out of bed within a week, I'll take your last name." A week later, my best friend and I reunited and said in unison, "Maybe." I suspected my CEO husband was cheating. To confirm my suspicions, I brought along my best friend and sister-in-law, Fiona, to stake out his company. Braving the cold wind, we crouched outside Edward's office building. Soon enough, we saw him leave urgently with his new female secretary. They're heading toward the hotel district. Fiona looked at me sympathetically. "Bestie, should we follow them?" I decisively shook my head. I was just an ordinary surgical nurse, while Edward was a billionaire CEO. A man like him cheating was as inevitable as rain falling or a daughter marrying, there was no stopping it. Besides, Edward and I had a whirlwind marriage. We'd only been together for 2 months, with shallow feelings, easy to divorce at any time. Of course, aside from the lack of emotional attachment, I had another reason to divorce him. I wanted to survive. He was an indefatigable workhorse, but I was the tender field that could be plowed to ruin. Naturally, I couldn't explain this to Fiona outright, so I just laughed it off. Men are like clothes, if this one doesn't fit, I'll just change into another. Plus, Edward's worth billions. If we divorce, I'll get a hefty settlement, right? Seeing how unbothered I was, Fiona giggled along. She laughed, "Bestie, remember me when you're rich." I grinned, "Once I get the money, we'll move to the coast and buy a beachfront villa." Then I winced. We'd married into the same family, Fiona was married to Edward's younger brother. If she moved in with me, it'd be like breaking up a marriage. The older brother, Edward, might not be a decent guy, but the younger one, Eric, seemed alright. After all, he was the rapper who'd publicly serenaded my best friend with cheesy love songs at his concert. I hesitated, unsure whether to ask, "Who's more important, your bestie or some guy?" when Fiona spoke first. "I think Eric might be gay. Lately, he's been writing new songs at his best friend's place during the day. Yesterday, I brought him clean underwear and found them sleeping under the same blanket." Fiona and I locked eyes. Immediately understanding, I pulled out 2 pre-prepared divorce agreements. We smirked. Divorce or not? Divorce, divorce, divorce. Fiona and I decided to confront the brothers that very night. But before the ink on the agreements had even dried, I got a call from Edward saying he was flying overseas for business. At the same time, Fiona received a message from Eric saying he was heading to a neighboring city to guest judge a show. With the men absent, our divorce plans were put on hold, leaving us stuck at the family mansion, forced to enjoy a few more days of luxury. The next morning, however, I had barely opened my eyes when Edward's secretary showed up uninvited. "Mrs. Edwards, hello. I'm Serena, Mr. Edwards' secretary." I eyed the woman, who bore a slight resemblance to me, and felt irritated, ignoring her outstretched hand. Fiona, playing my hype woman, added, "No handshake needed. Our Annie has germophobia, she hates touching dirty things." Serena smiled, pulling out a tissue to wipe her hand. "What a coincidence, so do I. Who knew Mrs. Edwards shared so many similarities with me?" Her double entendre successfully ignited my anger, my tone turning icy. "If you're here for Edward, you'll have to come back another time. He's on a business trip abroad." Fiona piled on, weird. "Shouldn't you, his secretary, be traveling with him?" "Oh no, are you about to get fired?" "Wow, how tragic." Serena chuckled. "I'm touched that Mrs. Eric cares so much about me. But don't worry, the reason I didn't accompany Mr. Edwards is because..." She placed a hand on her stomach. "I'm pregnant." Fiona and I both widened our eyes. Serena then pulled a men's watch from her bag and handed it to me. Mr. Edwards left this behind last night. I'm returning it to its rightful owner. After finishing her sentence, Serena turned and left in the elevator without waiting for my reaction. I clutched the watch, trembling all over. Fiona knew this was the watch I'd spent half my savings on for Edward's birthday. Worried I might be upset, she quickly comforted me. Annie, it's not worth getting angry over a scumbag. Besides, didn't you say men are like clothes? We can always change them out. I pushed her hand away. Who the hell is angry over a scumbag? This isn't the watch I gave Edward. It's a fake. That homewrecker Serena swapped out my 24K gold limited edition watch. Meow meow meow. Back then, blinded by hormones, I'd spent 200K on a watch for Edward. Now that I was set on divorcing him, being the penny pincher I was, I naturally wanted to take back everything I'd ever bought him. So that afternoon, Fiona and I went to Edward's corporation to confront Serena and demand the watch back. But before we could even reach her, we spotted Eric, who was supposed to be judging a show in another city, suddenly appearing outside the company building. Fiona's eyes nearly bulged out of her head when she saw him. Damn it. Eric let Serena ride in his passenger seat. And they're heading toward the hotel district. I looked at her sympathetically. Bestie, should we follow them? Fiona shook her head, hugging me on the verge of tears. I can't believe Eric is a switch-hitting bastard. Bestie, I feel dirty. Woo-woo, I knew it, men from the land of abundance are rarely straight. Don't worry. So he's a switch-hitting bastard, but you're no saint either. Remember your glory days of falling in love left and right? Don't let him look down on you, I comforted her, patting her back. Fiona sniffled. I feel like you're insulting me, but I have no proof. Silly girl, what nonsense. How could I ever insult you? I sighed. Fiona had gotten her head stuck in a door as a kid, she really was a bit slow. But no matter. With me around, my bestie would never suffer. So we left behind 2 signed divorce agreements and fled with our money that very night. On our way to the airport, we stopped at a McDonald's to kill time. But as soon as we got our food, Fiona started gagging uncontrollably. The staff nearby panicked, hastily assuring other customers about hygiene standards to clear their name. I helped Fiona sit down, looking at her with concern. Bestie, are you pregnant? Huh? To confirm, we ran to a convenience store for a pregnancy test. 10 minutes later, 2 lines appeared. Annie, what do I do? Fiona looked at me, on the verge of tears. We'd always agreed not to have kids before 30, but plans never survive first contact with reality. I sighed. Have it, what else? Don't worry, I'll help you raise the kid. Maybe it was my androgynous outfit or my deadbeat dad tone, but several people nearby turned to stare. Fiona, now the center of attention, grew even more resentful and started cursing Eric. Eric, you bastard. You must have poked holes in the condoms. You know what, baby, you can insult their quality, but don't insult my integrity. We turned to see a young man with platinum gray hair, vintage sunglasses, and a chunky gold chain slung around his neck standing behind us. The man casually sat next to Fiona, removing his sunglasses to reveal a devilishly handsome face. Several girls nearby recognized him and squealed like fangirls. Unlike their excitement, Fiona's expression remained deadpan as she disdainfully shoved his arm off her shoulder. Eric clutched his hand, wounded. Baby, why are you and sis-in-law here? Fiona and I exchanged glances before she answered solemnly. Bored at home. Came out for some McDonald's. Drove 80 miles to the airport for McDonald's? Realizing her slip-up, Fiona scratched her head, scrambling for an excuse, until Eric noticed the pregnancy test on the table. Baby, you're pregnant? Fiona shook her head frantically, blurting out in panic. It's sis-in-law's. Since Edward was abroad and wouldn't show up, I nodded along. But the next second, Eric called him. Sis-in-law, my bro says he'll be here in half an hour. I froze. Isn't he supposed to be at an overseas meeting? Nah, no meeting is more important than you, sis. Eric wagged his finger. Dealing with Eric alone was hard enough. If Edward showed up now, Fiona and I would never escape today. So I grabbed Fiona's arm, improvising. My stomach hurts. Fiona, come with me to the restroom. Fiona immediately understood and hurriedly stood up with me. But before we could take 2 steps, Eric blocked our path. Sis-in-law, my bro said I can't let you leave before he gets here. Not even to the restroom? Eric shoved his phone in my face, displaying the divorce agreement with my signature glaringly obvious. Beside me, Fiona patted her chest in relief. Phew, scared me. Thought mine got exposed too. Me. Baby, you actually want to divorce me? Eric, looking furious, cornered Fiona against the wall. Fiona fired back. You're out here being a bottom, why can't I divorce you? What? Damn, are you out of your mind? Their shouting drew the attention of nearby customers, especially Eric's fangirls, who swarmed around us at lightning speed. Who are you calling a bottom? Even if our oppa were gay, he'd be a top. Fiona, don't think just because you're his wife you can slander his reputation. I heard she only has a high school diploma. Oppa, why are you with a woman like this? She's not even on your level. Seeing them gang up on Fiona pissed me off, but before I could speak, Eric shielded her behind him and snapped. Say one more word about my baby and see what happens. The fangirls gaped in disbelief. Oppa, we're defending you. Why are you taking her side? Eric, are you insane? You're scolding us for her? I'm unstanding. Deaf to simp men. The fans grew increasingly hysterical, some even hurling burgers and sodas at Fiona and Eric. When Fiona saw Eric get splattered with ketchup while protecting her, her expression softened with guilt. Eric, are you stupid? Why didn't you dodge? Baby, you're the stupid one. If I dodged, who'd protect you? Eric ruffled her hair. Watching this idiotic couple's untimely PDA, I couldn't help rolling my eyes. The fangirls' screeching reached deafening levels. As the situation spiraled, I stepped in as a makeshift manager and, with staff help, escorted the two out through the kitchen. When the fans realized they couldn't chase their idol, they turned their rage on me. Sisters, she's not from the agency, she's probably a saying. There's an organized plot to harm our oppa. At their ringleader's words, the mob descended. Those nearest clawed at my clothes like maniacs. Amid the chaos, someone even kicked me, the pain forcing me to double over. Give our oppa back, you bitch. A girl in a JK uniform suddenly raised her hand. By the time I realized she meant to slap me, her palm was already inches from my face. Bracing for impact, I squeezed my eyes shut. But after several seconds, the sting never came. The noise around us had also quieted. Cautiously, I opened my eyes, and met a pair of icy dark ones. It was my CEO husband, Edward. The man was towering, his striking features coldly composed. Dressed in a tailored suit with slicked back hair, his domineering aura was downright terrifying. I gulped, forcing a dry smile. Hi. Mr. Edwards. Edward didn't respond. Without expression, he grabbed my wrist and dragged me toward the exit. The crowd instinctively parted for him. He hauled me to the parking lot, where Fiona spotted us and rushed over. Seeing the shoe prints on my clothes, she whirled around and smacked Eric repeatedly. This is all your fault. If you wanted to run, you should have gone alone. Why drag me? If anything happened to my bestie, I'd never forgive you. Baby, I panicked. Eric looked remorseful, bowing to me and Edward. Bro, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left pregnant sis-in-law behind. A flicker of surprise crossed Edward's stoic face before he gripped my hand tighter. You're pregnant? If I admitted it, divorce would be impossible. Forced to betray my bestie as a distraction, I deflected. Don't listen to your brother. It's Fiona who's pregnant. If you don't believe me, take her to the hospital right now. Fiona's eyes bulged. Annie, how could you sell out your own people? Her outburst was as good as a confession. Overjoyed, Eric lifted her and spun around. Baby, we're gonna be parents. Like hell we are. Fiona punched him hard. I won't be a beard. I'm divorcing you, and the kid won't be yours. Eric sighed. Baby, who's feeding you these lies? If I were gay, how could you be pregnant? Pfft. Stop pretending. I saw you shirtless in bed with that little potato guy. Don't tell me you're not gay. Damn. Baby, let me explain. Fiona covered her ears. I won't listen, I won't listen. As their argument grew louder, Eric, afraid of attracting more fans, simply scooped Fiona into his arms and carried her toward their private car. Bestie. Save me. Fiona. I tried to chase after them but was immediately shoved into the car by Edward. Edward locked the doors. Let me out. What if Eric and Fiona start fighting? Edward cut me off. Annie, don't think I don't know what you're planning. Mr. Edwards, I don't know what you mean. Before I could play dumb, Edward shoved the divorce papers I'd left at home right in my face. You want a divorce? His domineering aura felt even more suffocating in the confined space of the car. Staring at his icy expression, I took a deep breath, trying not to let it affect me. Yes. Edward looked at me and let out a cold laugh. I felt insulted, but I had no proof. Laugh all you want, Edward. Stop acting all high and mighty. Edward's expression darkened. Annie, watch your language. Since I was determined to divorce him, I no longer bothered restraining my temper. Slumping back in the seat, I said defiantly, this is who I am. If you don't like it, divorce me. The moment the words left my mouth, I felt the seat recline beneath me. Edward climbed over me, looking down with a dangerous glint in his eyes. My heart raced as I stared at his furious face. What are you doing? Doing you. Let me go. I want a divorce, I want a divorce. Ignoring me, Edward took off his glasses and leaned in. My face burned as I cursed him for being shameless. The thought of Serena showing up pregnant only fueled my anger. In desperation, I slapped him. The sound echoed through the car, followed by heavy silence. Seeing the red handprint on Edward's face, I realized I'd messed up. I didn't mean to. Good. Edward loosened his tie, his eyes glinting coldly. Woman, you've successfully provoked my anger. If you can get out of bed within a week, I'll take your last name. Eek. Mr. Edwards, spare me. In the end, Fiona and I failed to escape, both dragged back home by the Edwards brothers. After hearing Eric's explanation, Fiona temporarily shelved our divorce plans. I respected her decision, but I wasn't giving up on mine. Edward, I want a divorce. When he ignored me, I swept all the files off his desk. Instead of getting angry, Edward calmly pulled more documents from his drawer, as if daring me to continue. Infuriated by his indifference, I snapped. No matter what you do, I won't change my mind. If you refuse, we'll settle this in court. We're adults. If you have a problem, say it outright. There's no need for childish threats. Edward adjusted his glasses coolly. Tell me, do you want a car, a house, or an island? I almost laughed in disbelief. So in Edward's eyes, I was just a gold digger. Edward, maybe other women fall for this, but not me. I don't want anything from you, just your signature on these papers. I slammed the divorce agreement in front of him, only for Edward to tear it to shreds. You. Stunned, a long-held suspicion resurfaced. Edward, you're so against divorcing me, could it be you've actually fallen for me? Yes. Edward pulled me into his arms, tilting my chin up. Annie, don't even think about escaping me in this lifetime. Furious, I slapped him again and sneered. Dream on, Edward. I'd rather get hit by a car than stay with you. This divorce is happening. I turned to leave, only to find Fiona and Eric eavesdropping outside. They looked awkward. Eric spoke first. Sis-in-law, my bro's just bad with words. He really likes you, you know what I'm saying, huh? I scoffed. Don't care, don't wanna understand. Move. Edward grabbed my wrist. Annie, you're not leaving this house. Huh? Who the hell do you think you are? God? I'm walking out of the Edwards family today even if it kills me. Over my dead body. As we argued, Fiona and Eric munched on sunflower seeds, watching the drama unfold. Wow, this feels like a CEO romance novel, Fiona mused. Baby, maybe because my bro is literally a CEO, Eric pointed out. Finally, Fiona faked a pregnancy scare, successfully diverting our attention. Eric seized the chance to shove Edward and me onto opposite ends of the couch. Bro, you can't blame Annie for wanting a divorce. You went too far. Fiona didn't hold back, your mistress came to your house pregnant. If you're a real man, let Annie go. The moment she said it, both brothers froze. Damn. Bro, you cheated? I thought you only liked, Eric cut himself off, glancing at Edward. Fiona interrupted, Eric, go write a diss track about him. I'll fund it. Edward, exasperated, waved for the staff to drag them upstairs before turning to me. Annie, I never cheated. The mistress accusation is ridiculous. I pulled out Edward's high school graduation photo, pointing at Serena. Tell me the person you like isn't in this picture. Edward seemed surprised I'd found it but, after a pause, nodded faintly, his ears reddening. His honesty stung. I let out a bitter laugh. Of course. If I didn't resemble his white moonlight, Serena, Edward would have never glanced at me twice on that dating show. I'd been naive, thinking I'd found my fairy tale CEO romance, only to realize I was just a stand-in. Good thing. I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing a smile. Good thing I'd only just started liking him. It wasn't too late to walk away. Since you're still hung up on your first love, don't lead other women on. I may be ordinary, but I'm not desperate enough to be someone's replacement for money. Edward's frown deepened, but before he could speak, his phone rang. The caller seemed urgent. Hanging up, Edward said apologetically, Annie, wait for me. I'll explain everything when I get back. I stayed silent, but not before catching Serena flashing on his screen. Everything clicked. Fine. I'll wait. Not. The moment Edward left, Fiona helped me evade the Edwards family surveillance. After taking leave from the hospital, I packed my bags and headed straight for the airport. Fiona texted tearfully, Bestie, I'll miss you. I'll never forget your voice and smile. I sent a series of eye-roll emojis, take care of yourself. I'll visit after the divorce is finalized. Boarding the plane, I noticed the man beside me grinning at his phone. Noticing my gaze, he sheepishly said, Sorry, just excited. My wife's pregnant, I'm finally going to see her. To my horror, he then scrolled through his gallery, showing me her photo. Hey, you kinda look like her. My stomach dropped. It was Serena. I blinked hard, but there was no mistake, the man's wife was undeniably Serena. Serena was married. And she'd gotten pregnant while having an affair with Edward? The revelation hit me like a truck. I gasped for air, my vision swimming. The man asked concernedly, You okay? Need me to call a flight attendant? Pitying him, I probed, You and your wife must be really close, huh? Yeah, he said fondly. The man smiled shyly, It's just that my wife can hold a grudge sometimes and argues with me a lot. But it's fine, I'll always let her have her way and treat her well for the rest of her life. After all, she's my goddess, hee. Damn, this guy was the ultimate simp. No wonder Serena dared to cheat so brazenly. Poor guy, about to become an unwitting father. Just as I was sighing, I suddenly slapped my forehead. Wait, who did you say you were going to see? My wife. She's on maternity leave right now, so I came to take care of her. Hold on. Edward had taken a call and gone to see Serena, and now her husband was also heading to see her. Which meant Serena's husband might run straight into Edward. At this realization, I couldn't help but feel excited. If I could record evidence to use as leverage, Edward would definitely agree to divorce me. And as for Serena stealing my watch, that could be settled in one go too. Such a perfect two-birds-one-stone plan wasn't something I'd let slip. So I pulled out the graduation photo I'd taken from Edward's study and handed it to Serena's husband. Actually, I'm Serena's high school classmate. Since I'm here on business, mind if I tag along to see her? Sure, of course. Serena's husband nodded cheerfully. Wow, I had no idea you were Ranran's old classmate. What a coincidence. I smiled without responding. Coincidence? Oh, there was about to be an even bigger coincidence waiting at her place. Serena's husband led me to the upscale neighborhood where she lived. Looking around at the luxurious facilities, I couldn't help muttering under my breath. Living in a place like this and still stealing my watch, shameless. We're here. Serena's husband stopped in front of a door and called her to let us in. I was surprised that, as her husband, he didn't even have a key. Feeling even more sympathetic, I decided to give him a heads up. Bro Wong, why doesn't Serena give you a key? Unless, she's hiding something and doesn't want you barging in unexpectedly? No way, there's nothing about Ranran I don't know. He laughed it off. This place was just recently bought, and I've been away on business this year, so I never got around to making a spare key. I shrugged as we waited for Serena to open the door. But no one answered his call. Staring at the tightly shut door, I couldn't help imagining Edward and Serena getting busy inside, and my anger flared. Seeing my expression, Serena's husband thought I was just impatient and dialed 5 or 6 more times in a row. Still no answer. Not wanting me to wait in vain, he suggested we grab coffee downstairs. Just then, the elevator dinged open, revealing 2 people standing side by side inside. Serena and Edward. Both froze when they saw us. Ranran, you're finally back. Serena's husband, oblivious, rushed forward to support her. Serena stared at her husband and me in shock. Honey, why are you with her? I smirked. What, you can be with someone else's husband, but your husband can't be with someone else? You. Furious, Serena was about to snap when she suddenly clutched her stomach and groaned in exaggerated pain. Her husband and Edward immediately sprang into action, one supporting her, the other calling an ambulance. I wasn't buying her sudden pain. With a scoff, I said. Playing 2 men like a fiddle, Serena. You're really something. Then I turned to Edward. And you, Mr. Edwards. Getting cozy in front of her husband, are you just shameless, or so confident in your charm that you think Bro Wong won't punch you? Punch, why would I punch him? Serena's husband looked utterly confused. Because he's the man your wife's cheating with. My words struck like lightning, jolting Serena out of her pain. She glared at me and snapped. Just because you're Mrs. Edwards doesn't mean you can spout nonsense. Edward was equally furious. Annie, what the hell are you saying? I raised an eyebrow at their outbursts. Oh, touched a nerve, did I? Bro Wong, I'd suggest a paternity test after the baby's born. Wouldn't want to raise someone else's kid, right? Serena's husband paled, his finger trembling as he pointed at her and Edward. Ranran, how could you? I didn't. Serena burst into tears. Honey, you're the only one for me. And you've been so good to me, why would I ever cheat? I coldly countered, you came to my house flaunting Edward's watch, taunting me, and even said you were pregnant. That's why Edward didn't take you on his business trip. At this, Serena hesitated. That was because Edward had been the school heartthrob back then and later became a legend in their industry. Serena had always idolized him. So when she found out her idol had married an ordinary nobody like me, she resented me, convinced I wasn't good enough for him. That's why, when she swapped the watch, she couldn't resist dropping those misleading hints. Afraid the truth would cost her job at Edward's corporation, Serena covered her face and wailed. I never once said Mr. Edwards and I had an improper relationship. You're the one making things up. Woo-woo, my life is so hard. Why is everyone bullying a pregnant woman? Her husband, though conflicted, held back his anger, forcing a stiff smile out of respect for Edward and me. Furious, Serena clutched her stomach and dramatically groaned. It hurts so much. Where's that ambulance? If it doesn't come soon, I'll lose the baby. I rolled my eyes so hard I almost saw my brain. Just as I was about to snap back, Edward grabbed my arm. Annie, apologize to Serena. Why should I? Edward frowned. Because you slandered her and caused her distress. Furious, I slapped him across the face. Edward was about to explode when he noticed the tears streaming down my face. Edward, I'm your wife. Why do you always take someone else's side? My voice trembled as I held back sobs. Do you have any idea that I've never once picked a fight with her? I didn't even lay a finger on her. And it was Serena who came at me first with her shady comments. Why are you only blaming me? Why? You said you loved me. Is this how you show it? Edward, you're fucking insane. I'd rather die than ever like you again. With that, I stormed out of the elevator without looking back. Afraid Edward would chase me, I immediately hailed a cab to the airport. For the next 2 weeks, I hopped on random last-minute flights, playing a game of cat and mouse with him. To avoid harassment, I blocked all his contacts, along with Fiona and Eric's countless calls. After settling into a hotel at a scenic spot, I got another call. Seeing it was from the hospital director, I picked up, only to hear Edward's voice, pleading pathetically. Annie, I'm sore. Click. Soon after, my coworkers started bombarding me with calls. I wasn't stupid. It didn't take a genius to figure out Edward was behind this. So I turned off my phone and flipped on the TV to unwind. Big mistake. Every local channel was airing a missing person bulletin, with my face plastered everywhere. The broadcast even included a video message. Sis-in-law, my bro really regrets it. Please come back. If you don't, he's gonna ruin all my connections. Woo-woo Annie, where are you? If you don't show up, Big Bro's confiscating all my snacks. After Fiona and Eric's tearful pleas, Edward delivered a heartfelt confession. Annie, I'm sorry. I won't make excuses for my past mistakes. But I promise I'll change. From now on, I'll only listen to you. Wife, please come home. I turned off the TV with shaky hands and reopened my phone to check trending topics. Unsurprisingly, #Edward searching for his wife had gone viral. The comments were flooded with fans from our old reality show, all begging me to forgive him. Some even livestreamed their attempts to track Edward's search route for clout. Against my better judgment, I clicked on one. The stream showed Edward searching a hotel lobby. Before I could process his haggard appearance or the dark circles under his eyes, I froze. Because the hotel in the livestream was mine. Panicking, I borrowed a housekeeping uniform, wheeled out a laundry cart, and sneaked down to the lobby. Spotting no sign of Edward or the streamer, I sighed in relief, until a taxi pulled up outside. I bolted for it. Airport, now. Sorry, miss, I'm waiting for my booked passenger. Not daring to step out, I gritted my teeth. I'll pay double. Money talks. The driver agreed. Minutes later, the door opened, and a pair of long legs slid in. My blood ran cold. I'd recognize those legs anywhere. They belonged to Edward. I yanked at my door handle, but it was locked. Driver, open the door. Annie? Edward's eyes lit up when he saw me. You're here? Were you looking for me? As if. I screamed at the driver until he finally unlocked the door, then shoved past Edward and sprinted away. Edward chased after me. Stop following me. Take one more step and I'll disappear forever. Okay. Cars whizzed past dangerously. Worried for my safety, Edward actually stopped dead in his tracks. Then I saw a speeding car heading straight for him. "Edward, move." But he stood frozen, staring at me with heartbreaking intensity. Remembering my threat, I cursed and ran back, shoving him onto the sidewalk just in time. "Are you insane?" "I told you," he said softly, "I'll only listen to you from now on." I rolled my eyes and tried to leave, but Edward wrapped his arms around my waist and buried his face against me, his voice breaking. "Annie, don't go. Please. I've loved you since high school." I froze. "High school?" Edward nodded, pulling a yellowed photo scrap from his wallet. In it, a chubby teenage boy stood shyly beside a beaming girl. "Where did you get my high school photo? And who's this kid?" "That's my brother." Eric and Fiona emerged from a parked car nearby. Fiona asked, "Annie, remember that semester you exchanged to school A? You took graduation photos with them." Now that she mentioned it, it did ring a bell. Eric added, "My bro was in your class. He's had a crush on you since then, just too chicken shit to confess." I clutched the photo, confused. "But the grad photo in your study showed this tall, handsome." "Edward, maybe because you were looking at my brother's photo." He handed me another torn graduation photo. The missing piece matched the one in his wallet perfectly. I stared between the photo and him, stunned. "I fired Serena and gotten your watch back." Edward produced the timepiece. "She'll apologize to you in person too." "Annie, wife, I was wrong. Please forgive me." "Forgive him. Forgive him." Fiona and Eric chanted. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, a wave of dizziness hit me, and I collapsed into Edward's arms. The trio rushed me to the hospital. "Congratulations, Mr. Edwards. Your wife is pregnant." Edward's face lit up. He hugged me briefly before pulling back anxiously. "Annie, I won't force you to come back." I pouted. "What, you'd leave a pregnant woman homeless?" His eyes sparkled. "Does this mean you forgive me?" "Humph, you're still on probation. One wrong move and I'm gone, divorce papers ready." "Anything you say." Edward smiled like he'd won the lottery.